Hey, welcome back. Today we will see one of the most important Java 8 feature, and it is optional class in Java 8. In day-to-day programming, we are dealing with null pointer exceptions. Usually, we will use if statement to check if the variable is null or not, and then we will process it. But this is really tedious job to do null checks every single time. And that's why there is an optional class to help us deal with null pointer exceptions in a better way. If we have a variable and which could be null, we can create an optional of it using ofNullable method. Then we can check if the value is present or not using isPresent method. And if the value is present, we can use get method to get the value. But sometimes we want to set a default fallback value. If my variable is null, then I should have some default value, and we can use orElse method to set a default fallback value. Do not worry about it. We will see a complete example where we will be using these methods. So let's move to the Eclipse. Here I will create one class. Let's give it a name test, add the main method. Okay, so here we will be creating an optional of the string. So let me create one string. Okay, so we have a string and we need to create an optional. So we will be creating optional of string and we will give it a name opt, and here optional of Java 8 optional, and we will be creating ofNullable, and here we will be giving name. So this is the string name and we have created opt optional of it. So we can print it. I will add a simple sysout statement and opt.get. Okay, and save the program and I will run it. This is fine. It is giving mark because we are creating optional of the name. But let's say what if the mark is null? So let's check. I will make it null and I will comment the mark. Okay, now we will check what will happen. And it is giving an exception. Of course, this is not a null pointer exception, but it is another one which is saying no such element exception, no value present. That means our optional do not contain any value. So we should check the optional if it is containing any value or not. And how can we do it? Using isPresent method. So I will add a simple if here and opt.isPresent. Let's add a curly braces. Okay, so here I will be checking if my optional contains any value or not. If it is containing any value, we will print it, and we will add an else statement where if the value is not present, we will print simply default value, or let's say the opt is null. Okay, and I will save the program and we will run it again, run as Java application. Now we are getting default value because opt is null, because we are able to check opt is null or not, whether it is containing any value or not. And I will remove the null and comments to. Okay, now let's save the program and run it again, and now this time it will print mark. because it is checking if opt is having a value or not, and this isPresent method will return true if the opt is having value. And this time we are creating opt of the name, and name has mark, so isPresent method will return true, and we are able to print value of the opt, which is mark. But this is fine, and it's again becoming lengthy. So in the beginning we have discussed that we want to shorten the code and we want to deal with null pointer exception in better way. But why it is getting lengthy then? There is another method, orElse. Let's say I have a string name which has mark, but if it is coming from somewhere else, we don't know whether it is null or not. Then how can we set a default fallback value for it? We can do it using orElse method. So let's remove this thing because we do not need this thing, and instead of optional we just need a simple opt string. So it will be string, opt string, and here we are saying that create an optional of the name, but if the name is null, I want orElse, and here we can pass default fallback value. Okay, so I'm creating an opt string. It will have the value of name, and if the name is null, it will have default fallback value. So let's print it. I will add a simple sysout and we will be printing opt string. Save it and run the program. We are getting mark because we have a valid string name and it has mark. But let's say if name is referring to a null value, and I will assign it to a null value. Now what will happen? We will be printing a default fallback value. Let's check it. So clear the output and we will run the program, run as Java application, and you can see it is printing default fallback value. Now this time we don't have to add if statement, and we have to check optional if present, and if it is present then we are getting, and otherwise else statement is executing. Now we do not want to do all these things, and we can simply check if null has a valid value, we will assign it to the opt string, or else we will assign the default fallback value, and our opt string can be processed further. Now this is all important things about the optional, and we can use optional in our day-to-day programming to deal with null pointer exceptions in a better way. So we will see you with next concept in the upcoming video. Thank you.